no.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a great Saturday. It is a frosty one here, let me tell you. Leaves are changing rapidly. It's going to be a beautiful fall. But it was a little on the nippy side this morning. My husband turned the heat on first thing this morning. We were at what? 4 degrees this morning. 2 degrees.
2 degrees.
Felt like 4. No. We actually had a wind chill today. So yes, a little bit frosty here. So we're going to be working today on this little Be Kind piece. I have a weakness for sunflowers, bumblebees, and painting, apparently. So we're going to be doing this lovely little piece. I love this surface. If you're looking for it, I know that we have more coming. We did actually sell out of this surface, but if you're looking for this and you live in the United States, go and check out cupboarddistributing.com or cdwood.com, sorry about that, and Chris Hoy on her website. That's where I originally got the surface, and I absolutely love this. I had several of these in different sizes and shapes, and I thought that this one suited this design really well. So that is what we're going to be working on today. We do have some special giveaways today, so we're going to be focusing on the kindness part of today's live. So we have great giveaways today. So I have kindness or Be Kind packs for 3 of you. So in order to get your name on the wheel for one of those prize packs, all you have to do is join us in the chat, say hello, ask a question, intermingle with some of the other painters that are watching, and then hit the buttons, the subscribe button, the like button, the share button, the follow button, wherever you happen to be, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube. Just hit all the buttons. Get your name on the wheel, and at the end of today's live, we'll be giving away 3 of those Be Kind packages. You have this look on your face.
I just had a business idea.
Oh, okay.
Turn your patterns
Uh-huh.
into QR codes.
Okay. How would that work?
Oh, it's easy.
Is it? Okay. You can fill me in later.
Just
When it comes to the techie stuff, I defer to him. I know a lot, but he knows more. So that is our project for today. Before we get started, though, as always, I like to shout out to a few people. And Diane Hendricks. Hello, sweetie. And we have somebody new watching us today. It's Petra Van... I know I'm going to say this wrong. Petra Van Brink from the Netherlands is watching from Florida today. So I wanted to say hello and welcome, Petra. Thanks for joining us. And there's Linda Morgan and Sharon Shad. And Jackie Wright. Hi, Jackie. And there's my girl Nancy. Who else is here? Deanna Swindlehurst. How are things in the BC? Sunny but chilly on the coast. I think both coasts are getting a little bit of that chill today. Ours and yours. And my girl Karen Jones is there. And Deb Bloomfield. And Desiree Volmer. I hope you're feeling much better, Desiree. You've been a little absent for a while, but it's nice to see you back. And, and sweet Gail Wolseley, one of my favorite people in Southern Ontario. She's such a doll. And Rose Bob. That's a name I haven't seen before, but welcome. Glad to have you with us.
That's Rose Rob.
Rob? I guess so. I'm sorry about that. Couldn't see for looking. And Janet Roach and Margaret Farah. Hello from Michigan. 63 degrees. That's suntanning weather. Love all your nutcrackers in the background. I've been having just a little too much fun with the nutcracker thing. And I found a surface the other day that's absolutely huge. And the first thought that went through my mind was, I could put a nutcracker on that. Probably not a good idea.
So glad I found this channel. I'm a newbie.
Hi, Julia. We like newbies. Don't forget, you've joined the chat, so now your name goes on the wheel. Awesome. And Shirley Coleman from Texas. I'm assuming it's warmer in Texas than it is here.
I would hope so.
Goodness. And Connie Giesland, hello. Good heavens, we got lots of faces here today. So as you can see, I'm wearing a sweater because it's nippy out here, and it's not super warm in the studio either. So, going to be cozy. Bonjour tout le monde. There's Patrick from Northern France. Good to have you with us. And Heidi Ferlot from Timmins, Ontario. Oh my goodness, we have people from everywhere today. Wow. Perfect. It's 71 degrees in Utah. I'd get it. I'd take 71. Oh, and there's Elizabeth Minardo. Liz Minardo. Hello, sweetie. I was thinking about you the other day. I was making stuffed peppers. That's where I got that recipe for stuffed peppers, was from Liz. They were awesome.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, they were so good.
Thank you. They're delicious.
They are delicious. All right, guys. I've said hello, and I'll continue to say hello as we paint today, but we're going to be working on this fun little Be Kind piece. Now, I do a lot of bee stuff. And I love anything to do with bees. I also like things that have to do with being kind. So I want to talk about this. If you are not part of the Random Act of Kindness AYL page on Facebook, I encourage you to go there. On the files page in there are tons of free patterns so that you can create some RAKs, or Random Acts of Kindness, yourself. I've done a new one for this year. I love it. I think it's so cute. It's just this prim heart, and I made it look like an ugly Christmas sweater. Like, how fun is that? So, yes, super cute, super easy. The pattern is on the Random Act of Kindness AYL page on Facebook. So pop over there, join the page, go and download all the stuff that you want to. I've also put it in the RAK downloads and in the free downloads on my website, so go and check that out. And it's also available on the Canadian website. So if you are looking for something fun to do with these little primitive hearts, these are super easy and they're super cute. Little ugly Christmas sweaters. Heart shape.
Oh.
So it's all about kindness today. What are you pointing at?
Leanne Cunningham.
A newbie here from Nevada. Hello, Leanne. Awesome. Bees with fluffy butts. Yes, those are perfect. Fluffy butt bumblebees. Those are the best kind.
I thought it was fuzzy butt.
Fuzzy butt, fluffy butt, whatever. No, you're right. It is fuzzy butt. I have a fluffy butt. Are the little add-ons for the nutcrackers back in? Yes, they are, Sandy. We got a bunch of them in yesterday, as a matter of fact. And they're up on the website. And we've got more coming. I ordered some more because, well, we can't seem to keep up. So, but put all of that aside for right now, because we're going to be painting this fun little reminder to always be kind. So if you guys are ready to paint, be kind, etc., so am I. I love this piece. I just think it's fun. And what could possibly go wrong? We could start a fluffy butt club. Yes, Deanna, we could.
I want nothing to do with that.
You're just going to carefully walk away from that conversation.
Away from that conversation.
Okay, fuzzy butt. He's going where it's safe. That's So this is the piece that we're working on today. I just thought that this one would be fun. It's sweet. We've got a honey jar. We've got sunflowers, and we've got these little 5-petal things. This one is super easy. It's just meant to be fun and nothing more. Of course, I had a bunch of these and then promptly sold out of them, so I didn't have one to actually paint on today. So I had to go to my stash and find another mason jar, which I did, but this one's a little smaller. There's Nancy Focardi. Hello, sweetheart. So this is my mason jar for today. As you can see, it's considerably shorter, but I'm going to make it work. So we have a base coat on here of baby duck or sunny day. You just need a buttery yellow. That's all. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, and it certainly doesn't have to be exactly what I used. So on this one, I think I've got baby duck on this one, or maybe it's sunny day. I can't remember. But we're going to put our attentions on this part first. So I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum. I've taped off the top of the mason jar right here, right above that little lip at the top of the jar, right there. That's where we're going to put that line. So just a strip of masking tape to mask off that area. Mary Galliado, I have been unable. Okay, question. Should I spray with sealer after I apply Glamour Dust? I generally prefer to put the Glamour Dust on after I spray because it's a matte spray, so it tends to take some of the punch out of the glitter. So I usually do it after the fact. And just so you can get a better look at these, there they are. Cute little pins. I just thought this was such a fun idea, but super cute. And Debbie wants to know what's for dinner tonight. Tonight we are having chicken souvlaki and lemon orzo. That's what we're having tonight. Hi, Petra. Yes, she did tell me about you. Thank you for joining us. Petra. Nice to have you with us. Hi, Lil. And Lisa. Hello, hello. It's nice to have everybody with us, and I'm so glad you all joined us. The giveaways for today are bee oriented, much like our piece for today, and it includes a great big 3-brush set, a vernishing set, believe it or not, of Dynasty black gold brushes. I tried to keep all of the goodies in the same color format, so we're using black and yellow. So we have Dynasty black gold brushes to give away. You have an awesome little pouch that says Be Happy. It's all black and yellow with bumblebees and all sorts of fun things in it. And then we've got some really cute little Be Kind products that we had made. We have some buttons, we have keychains, we have a few of those things in there. Plus we've put a kit in for the Be Kind and the Be Happy phone stands, and we can include the stencils, and we included the phone stands. So there's a nice little kit in there for you, plus a bunch of other goodies. So it's a nice little giveaway, I think. So we're going to focus on this part. I'm using asphaltum. I know you're completely surprised by that. And we're going to slip slap this on because we do not want this to be perfect. We want to create a little texture. So very little water, lots of paint. Slip it on, slip slap it. That's the word I was looking for. Just like that. We want an imperfect surface. Just like so. So I'm creating some texture just by tapping like that. You can see it's a sloppy base coat. And then I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to repeat the process. Hi, Judy. San Miguel, California. Marion Tishmak Struckness, good morning. Glad to have you with us. I love this technique for doing the top of the jar. It essentially creates sort of a rusty lid look, which I think is fun. And it's easy, but we got to make sure that it's dry. And then we're going to put another coat on. Again, I've no water in my brush. I'm just working with straight paint because I want to create a little bit of texture on there. And I don't want it to be neat and tidy. I want brush marks. I want little bits in there, and you'll see why. So I'm just tapping. Tap, 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 tap. Like so. And you're going to do that until you get a fully opaque base coat. So I think we're there. There's Cordy. And Linda Morgan, hello. And Gail Jensen, hi. There we are. This part is super easy. And I love doing this because it's such a simple way to get a great result. But I do need it to be completely dry. So the next color we're going to use is a little bit of lamp black. Hi, Janet. Oh, Debbie, it's Debbie's birthday month. So I'm going to use a 1/2 inch angle. I'm using a Dynasty Faux Swirl for this. You're gluing pins on rags. I love the pumpkins. They're fun. There's Deb Bloomfield. Okay, so I'm going to float a little lamp black right across the bottom here, right over the tape. Just like so. Joop. Just like that. So we're putting a float, darkest value towards the tape. And then see the little curl? We're going to start the next one at the bottom of that first ridge. Like so. Don't worry if it's not perfect, it's fine. So there's our float along that first ridge. And you're going to float that way all the way up. There we go. And again at the top. Don't worry if it's not perfect, it's fine. And you'll see why in a minute. Okay. So I'm going to dry that. Ta-da, so now it's got those ridges. Yes, absolutely, Deb. Perfection is to be avoided at all cost. So I have a nice little dry brush here somewhere. Here we go. And we're going to use a little bit of orange flame. Or spice. You can use spice, red spice, either or. I'm just being very lazy today, so I'm going to... I have to go pick and dry a whole bunch of basil this afternoon. So I've got my dry brush loaded with a little bit of orange flame. And we're going to dry brush each of those rows. Keep it fairly light. Don't go all the way to the edge. And you're going to do this at the top of that. Right like that. But it doesn't go right to the end. And we'll do this one as well. I think that this is just such a fun and easy way to get that rusted look on our lid. So I'm going to do it again. And this one's going to be a little bit smaller. So I want the brighter portion of this in the center. Here we go. And I'm going to do it again. Again, keeping that brighter color for the center. Now that texture that we put on there helps us build that up a little. It gives something for that orange color to catch on. So I've got a little bit on there. So the color I'm using is Orange Flame. I'm going to take a little bit of warm white, if I can get it out of the bottle. Just a little. So Orange Flame. And then I'm going to pick up just a tiny bit of warm white. And it's just going to change the value of that orange just a little. And I'm going to focus that at the center of this. Right there. And then a little more warm white on that dirty brush. Little brighter. Oops. Blended a little better. Little brighter. Little brighter and smaller right in the center. Little more white. So you're just going to continuously pick up a little more white until it's almost completely white. Almost. So there is our brightest highlight right in the center. Pretty nifty. And then we're going to come back to our lamp black. I'm going to rinse out my brush here. We're going to pick up a little bit of lamp black. And we're going to put a float up this side. And we're going to put a float up this side. So we've got that, the dark, and then we've got that brighter highlight in the center. So when I dry this, we're going to get a really nice highlight. And this is such an easy way to get that texture by putting your base coat on a little rough. So I'm going to bring a little more of that warm white in. Whoops. A little too much, but that's okay. I like that little bit of brightness. It's just a little too small, that's all. There we go. There's that nice little bit of brightness. And then you can finish that with just a stroke of white. Of warm white. My little dot there. So now we've got that nice lid. And it's just dry brushing. It's a simple way to get a really great depth and dimension just by using a dry brush. Now, if at any time your shading at the bottom there starts to look a little dusty, or if it's just not very crisp, you can just float a little more lamp black in there just to clean it up. Just to give you sharper detail. But it does not change. Look at that. So now, and I call this the ooh ah thing. I love this. This is just such a great. So I'm going to pull my tape off, and I put it, when I'm pulling tape, never pull it straight up. Fold it back on itself and pull back as low as possible. It reduces the surface tension on the fresh paint and drastically reduces the risk of pulling off your base color. And there you go. Fast and easy way to do that lid. Easy peasy. I mean, it's such a fun way to do this, right? So we're going to build up our background. I wanted this to look like a jar full of honey. And I decided on using a different stencil this time. Ordinarily, I use a honeycomb stencil, but I really liked this one. This one's called Bubble Wrap. And I just thought this would look really cool because it doesn't it looks more like honeycomb than anything else, but it's called bubble wrap. Now we're only going to put the focus on the center portion of this jar. We're not going to have that honeycomb everywhere, so you don't have to knock yourself out trying to get everything covered. So I'm going to line up my stencil. Just make sure that it's reasonably squared off so that it's straight. Okay, maybe not so much. You ever have one of those days? Couldn't find my butt with both hands today. There we go. So I'm going to tape that in place, and I'm going to grab a clean stencil brush. Which miracle if I can find one today. So the color I'm going to use for this is called Sunset Gold. And it's a very rich golden yellow, and it's surprising what it looks like over top of this this baby duck or this sunny day. It actually stands out quite a bit. So I want to cover, let's say maybe 2/3. I don't want these perfect either. I just think that if it's too perfect, it looks static and it doesn't have a nice flow to it or a nice softness. So we're going to use a little bit of color. Again, don't worry about getting it perfect. Doesn't matter. We're just implying that there's a honeycomb in there. And it's floating around inside all of that sweet goodness. I just bought some unpasteurized local honey the other day because I have a recipe to make a cough syrup. And most of the cough syrups on the market and cold medication I can't take. So I was looking for something that would be, easy to make, would work well. And somebody recommended this, so I went and bought some organic honey. Oh, look how pretty. And I'm all set. All I need now is to get my garlic. I forgot to get my garlic the other day, but I'm going to make a mess of cold medication and cough syrup, things for sore throats and the like. Between the honey and the garlic, should make a good thing for colds and coughs and colds. And this, as I said, this was not intended to be a honeycomb look when I designed this stencil, but I really like it for this. It's a little smaller, a little more compact, and I just think it works really well. So that's about all we really want to do, is just a little visual texture in the center of the jar, just to contrast this a little bit. Not to mention, it's just fun. So I'm going to switch over to a nice big angled shader. Take some of this dust off. Again, I'm using a faux squirrel for this. And we're going to put a float. Yes, Patrick, you can make cough syrup. And Virginia Ruiz, welcome. So the outside edge of this, we're going to float with a little bit of that sunset gold. And you'll see why I use that in just a minute. Look at how rich that makes everything. I love this color. And we're going to walk this out. So it's going to be darker in those corners and the outside edge. And I'm going to walk this color out a little. So this is the first one. Sunset Gold is such a brilliant yellow. It covers well, but it still has that richness to it. It's just a beautiful yellow. And it is so good for this. So there we go. And then I'm going to pull that color across the bottom of the lid as well. There we go. So that's our first float. And on the next one, we're going to walk it out quite a bit. Because I want this color to overlap and give us that look of all that wonderful honey. So I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to walk that color out a little. And that's how you do it. Just float and then pull that color out. Lots of water, lots of color. Oh, yummy, yummy, yummy. Such a gorgeous yellow. Oh, the cough with cayenne, apple cider vinegar, and honey. That one works really well. It works well for chesty cough. If you get one with garlic, it works well for, or it's the opposite. If you get one that is very deep and chesty, yep. It's nice to have a little bit with the apple cider vinegar. It's very good. Also, if you have sore throat, if you're dealing with sore throat, like you get with the flu, or God forbid you get COVID, you need something that's going to numb it. And that cayenne does wonderful, wonderful things for that. The one I'm looking at is literally marinating garlic, whole garlic, in raw honey. And then you can add your favorite things to that afterwards. But that high level of garlic works like an antimicrobial. Old-fashioned cough medicine and cold medicine remedies. There we go. So we've got nice dark yellow around the outside edge. Ooh, really? An allergy to honeycomb. That's, well, you can be allergic to anything. But that's a new one on me. I hadn't heard that one. Honey doesn't bother me at all. But I can't take anything with certain... How do you store it? Store it in a dark cupboard and well sealed. There we go. Look at that. Nice. I love it. So I'm going to dry it really well. Have I ever planted turmeric? No. Oh. Karen, I'm so sorry. There's nothing worse than a late summer cold. Just seems to drag on. Yeah, honey infused garlic works really well. Hi, Kelly. So we have our honey. So the line drawing that I'm using, obviously my jar is different from the other one. I'm going to make a couple of adjustments. I'm going to move these flowers in a little bit, up and in. I might put one up here and just one down the corner. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. But what I want to keep in mind for this is quite simply this. I want my light right here in that area, just, almost dead center. So lined up with that highlight that we put on the lid up here, we're going to continue that here. But before we put in that highlight, we have to break this up into segments. So I'm going to grab my favorite pencil. This is my chalk pencil. And I'm going to draw 2 lines like this on either side. Like that. And then 2 lines here. Because this is segmented. So these 2 lines along here are going to give us the neck of that jar. Right there. This is rough, but you get the idea. And then these 2 indicate that, and this is just rough. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just to show you where things are. So we have this space, so this edge on the glass, and then we have this neck in here. So we need to define those a little bit. So I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum. And I'm going to put a float right here. Oh, I picked up a schmegly. I hate that. Okay, it's not a schmegly. I picked up a little Lord, that's irritating. When you pick up a little hair and it refuses to, like cat hair, especially with cats, dogs, and whatnot. Oh. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to put a float right there, and I'm going to walk that in a little. So that's going to show us where that neck is. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So there's that little ridge, the ridge at the top. And then I'm going to shade the neck as well. It doesn't have to go far, but it is going to define the neck of this jar quite a bit. There we go. So I've got those 2 pieces in. And I'm going to grab another dry brush. Should always have at least 3 or 4 because you know you're going to lose one. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white. And we're going to dry brush the center of this spot, like so. And a little bit on the neck. There we go. So I've made it a little further, and then I'm going to do the same thing a little bit brighter in the center. There we go. So you can see we've got a nice little division. So we've shaped that neck quite nicely. So now we're going to shade the outer edges of the jar with a little bit of asphaltum. This is going to give the jar a bit more roundness, sort of define its shape a little bit more. And we're going to do that with a nice big float of asphaltum. Now these ones are dry, so I'm going to come right over top of everything. And then right down the sides, all the way down. And it is a long way down on this one. And deepen it into the corners. It's amazing what a little bit of asphaltum will do for a yellow. And then when you come up here, you're going to go right over top of those. And it instantly defines that neck much better. So now we've got a jar. Easy peasy. So while we've got this dry brush, I'm going to highlight the center of my jar. Oh, it's still a little wet down there. Hi, Kimmy. Good to have you with us. And Cindy. Hi, Ramona Ray. So we're going to highlight the center of the jar. Remember, we're keeping all of the highlights in line with each other. So I'm going to dry brush all the way down. And because this is a long jar, I'm going to do this vertically. A little bit of warm white goes a long way. Ooh. I like the layers. Don't try to get this all dry brushed in one go. I like the layers. And I kind of like when it gets a little patchy. There we go. So once you have this all dry brushed and highlighted, I think I'm only going to bring it down to about here because that sunflower is going to take up a lot of space. So there is the center of our jar. The brush I'm using right now, this is an encaustic. It's an encaustic oval. It's essentially a fugly brush, just a small one. That's all. And I love them. I couldn't find a big enough mezzaluna to do this, so a fugly brush it is. So we've got our highlight in. I love this part because you get to do fun stuff like this. So I'm going to take a rigger, a little bit of warm white. And if we want a really nice bright highlight in places like this, just use a rigger to bring in a little of that highlight. So look at how, just by brightening that, what a difference it made. So we're going to trace and transfer our floral on. Now I have to adjust mine a little bit, but that's okay. So I'm going to use a little piece of gray graphite for this one. I like my well-worn ones on lighter colors. It's just easier. And I gotta find my red gel pen. Ta-da! So I'm going to start up here. I like these little 5-petal flowers because, quite honestly, they're not difficult to draw. They're fun to paint. They don't have to be perfect. God forbid anything should be perfect. And then just trace your line drawing on. Easy peasy. My sunflowers tend to be less than perfect as well. I like them with the pointy petals. I like them with rounded petals. Sunflowers are just, I mean, they're my favorite flower. Except like daisies in general are my favorite flower. So Alstroemeria. Daisies. I love daisies. Working on a new piece. I have the coolest surface. I had one of those 3 o'clock in the morning brainstorms. Well, I figure I'm not sleeping. I might as well, So I had one of those 3 o'clock in the morning brainstorms, and then I ran it by Deb, and Deb went, "Yeah, that's a good idea," because she enables me. Okay, I'm going to do that, by the way. Why not? She enables me. So she promptly went back to British Columbia and then made one for me and then sent it to me. So I'm just thrilled with it. So I was sitting here the other night trying to decide what I was going to put on it. And I think you guys are really going to like it because I'm in love with it. I haven't even got the thing done yet. It's just fun. Just fun, fun, fun. Like, how fun is this? So I'm thinking my Be Kind is going to go up here a little further. But I want to make sure I've got my... Okay. I'm not keen on those leaves, but I'm going to put them up here instead. Because. So I think I have everything. I do need to draw a bee on. I love my little bees. I love this red pen. It just sure makes transferring things a whole lot easier. There we go. And then I'm going to move my Be Kind to here, I think. Right there. That will do nicely. Just got to make sure it's straight, as it wouldn't do to have it, all cockeyed. And I love this font. It's just such a imperfectly perfect, or perfectly imperfect font to use for this. It's called Lemonade. I use it quite a bit because I really like this simplistic type of lettering, especially with anything with a country theme. It works very well. And it's an informal font style, so it doesn't look stuffy or pretentious, which is, heaven forbid. And I do love my lettering, so I'm going to be putting up the Christmas floor cloth. The pattern for that will be on the website today. My membership group did a live class on doing the illumination and then just creating a piece strictly with the focus on the lettering. And I really loved doing that one. So I did mine on a floor cloth, but it could be done on whatever. It could be done on a sign. It could be done on anything, really. But the illumination is really pretty. I love how it turned out. And you guys have been very complimentary. So I was rather excited about putting it up. And of course I missed a spot, right? Of course I did. There we go. And then I missed that. And I missed this corner. Oh, jeez. Jeez Louise. Could I have made a worse job of that? Probably. I tried hard. There we go. Alrighty. So we've got sunflowers. Oh, Gail, absolutely. There's tons. If you go to the Random Act of Kindness page, and in the files section, there are tons of small patterns that you can use in there. They're great for pins, but you could do them on rocks. You could do them on almost anything you like. And they're so much fun. You can't. Trying to put raffia on a pin when you own a cat. Good luck with that. Now, for the bee on my sign, I did put the line drawing with the bee in it, but I kind of like these, the ability to glue things on because that's just me. So I used one of these, this little laser cut bee, but it could go wherever you want it. It doesn't have to go on the sunflower. You can do that any way you want. But I just thought it was a cute addition, but I like the fact that you can just paint the bees on as well. So super easy to do. And I missed a spot. Of course I did. I missed the center of this one there. Not a biggie. So before we touch anything else, we have to separate all of this floral design and the lettering from the rest of the background. We have to lift this up a little. And we're going to do that with a little bit of asphaltum. We shaped everything with the asphaltum, so now we're going to adjust everything. So we're going to put a float of heavily thinned asphaltum around the sunflower, like so. In and around all of these little flowers as well, just so that they're not stuck to the surface. We need to lift them up a little. And I'm doing that with just a float of heavily thinned asphaltum. And don't be afraid to tuck that color in everywhere. I like doing this first because that way I don't have to worry about color getting on top of the flowers when I paint them. So just gives you, a little depth back there. And it pushes your floral forward. So even though we're using so many of the same colors, it's yellow on yellow on yellow, we're using something to lift them off the surface. So it looks kind of sloppy at first, and that's okay, but we're going to be doing a whole bunch of other things to sharpen this up. There we go. Don't forget, round the little bee. Now I'm going to switch to a smaller angled shader. I'm going to go to a 3/8. And we're going to shade in behind that lettering. So I want the shadow to be on the inside to the right with the darkest value to the edge of the lettering. So like so. Again, don't be too concerned with the neatness thing at this point, because the bulk of the lettering, the bulk of the painting on the lettering and the flowers is going to cover up a great deal of this. So we just want to create that nice little shadow in there. Look at that. There we go. So those little shadows go a long way to making this lettering really stand out. So there we go. So I've got the Be Kind. Is that a right-handed brush that I'm using? No, this one is an ambidextrous brush. I can use it either way. So I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to start doing some fun stuff. And we're going to start with those flowers in the back, those little 5-petal flowers. These are so easy to paint. And we forget so often that just because something is easy doesn't make it less pretty. But I'm going to give myself a clean palette, because I can make a mess of one, believe you me. And I'm going to use a little bit of warm white. And we're going to use a round brush. And the one I'm using is a number 4 round. I've been testing out these new brushes. This is from Dynasty. These are Evo Art. And they're meant for watercolor. I have fallen in love with this round. I just love it. It has that right amount of spring. It's just soft enough, but not too soft. And I'm loving it. So, for these little 5-petal flowers, they're super easy to paint. You're going to start on the left side of each petal with a comma stroke like so. And then over to the right with another comma stroke. And then right down the middle. 3 strokes per petal. 1, 2, 3. Now this flower is in behind this one, so we got to take a little care here. We've got one petal that is sort of tucked in behind, so I'm just going to quickly paint that. And we want all of those brush marks to be pulled back towards the center of the flower. And yes, we want the brush marks. One, 2, 3. They don't have to be perfect. I'm going to paint over some of these anyway, so 1, 2, 3. But it is important that you pull the stroke back to the center and to maintain those brush marks. We want lots of paint, lots of texture. And then we have this petal that overlaps that first one. So I'm going to 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to do the same thing to these little ones down here. It's a super, I use this particular 5-petal flower quite often. I like it for filler. I like it for a bunch of things. And a lot of my country pieces have this very simple little flower in it. Because I'm obsessed with anything country. And I like these little flowers. There we go. So super simple. We've got little flowers in there. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Sky. Thanks for coming. So I'm going to dry this really well. This is such a relaxed piece. There's just nothing over the top about this one at all. It's easy peasy. But I love that those flowers all, see the texture? I love that. And it's going to help us. That's the neat part. It's going to help us. So I got to make sure these are really dry before I do the next step. The surface sets for, I'm going to show you my little nutcracker. I'm going to give that a second to dry, but I'm in love with this little nutcracker. I think he's just too cute. So, this is the new one. I just love these little peppermints. We've been having way too much fun with them. These little peppermints are just glued on so that we have the little garland with peppermints. And I put another one on his hat because, you know, he needed it. And I made him predominantly green, and then, of course, we had to make the peppermint on the arms and the legs as well. But I love this piece. I just think he's so cute. We have one more to go. I have him drawn out, but I haven't painted him yet, that I'm really having a blast with, and that's the one with the candy canes. But, yep, we've got these cute little ones. But I love this guy. Do I paint country crocs? I've done paintings with country crocs. But I used to have numerous ones. I have one left. Well, two actually. I have two left. But yes, I love country. Anything to do with the country, any vintage stoneware, stuff like that, I just love. My favorites right now are I have two very old bean crocks, big ones. I have a smaller one that came from, my grandmother brought from Boston when her family immigrated here. And then I have a big large one that I found in an antique store a number of years ago. So I have several of those and a number of other pieces of crockery as well. I love all of that. But yes, I have a couple of pieces with country crocks. One is a big pitcher and another is a bowl. Love it. I love things like that. The ginger is so cute. I love the ginger. I love the little gingerbreads. They're so busy. Hi, sister. Yeah, they're available on my website. All of my patterns are available on my website at tracymoreau.net. And if you're not aware, there is a secret coupon code, and it's Happy Fall 25. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I have a bunch of, we're up to 6 nutcrackers. I can't really get stopped once I get started. So the center of our little flowers are going to be that baby duck or sunny day, whichever yellow you used for your background, you're going to use in the center of each of these flowers. And again, they don't have to be perfect. I have a tendency to, I paint something and then all of a sudden I'm just, one idea after the other just happens. And it happens frequently. So anybody that's been painting with me for a while knows that chances are pretty good I'm going to end up with a series of something. So I have hundreds of teacup patterns and flower pot patterns and rusty tin cup patterns and rusty watering cans. I still have 2 or 3 watering can designs that I have to paint yet. So because I obsess over things like that. So I'm going to make sure this is good and dry. Evo art brushes, I'm not sure. These are very new, so I'm not sure where you can find them at this point. But I'm kind of putting them through their paces because I like to test brushes and see how they work with how I paint. I love these. They've got a nice balance. They're a very nicely balanced brush. I'm really enjoying them, and although I find the angles are a little too soft, I'm really liking the rounds. The rounds have very quickly become, the one I reach for. So we have, look how pretty. One of my favorite colors that DecoArt's put out recently. Yeah, as of this, yeah, they're not available yet. Tea Berry is one of my favorite. One of my favorites. I love this color. So a little bit of Tea Berry. I'm going to use a 3/8 angled shader. This is generally about the smallest brush that I use as far as angles go. Some people use the 1/4 inch, but I find that small is just frustratingly tiny. So we're going to add a little color to each of the petals with a float of tea berry. Just like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a little U-shaped float facing the center of the flower. So just let it butt up against the center a little bit. Just like so. It gives, in the end, it gives these flowers a slightly pink appearance, which is very nice. But I like to leave a little bit of that white showing right at the edge. Here we go. Easy peasy. This is just a little country flower, and I love that little bit of that pink in it. Easy, easy, easy. So my brain has been going a million miles an hour trying to think of some other fun ways to create some of these racks, these RAK pins. I made about a dozen the other day. I do want to do some more. But I want to do something different too. So I've got a bunch of really cute surfaces in. I'm going to do another little gingerbread cookie because I love my gingerbread cookie. And I can't find my... I seem to have lost my voodoo doll. Oh, there he is. So on the little gingerbread man for Halloween, this is a voodoo doll. I just think he's super cute and fun to do. So it doesn't really matter what the shape is, but at Halloween, we had a group coming around doing fundraisers, and it's a food drive. They were coming around on Halloween collecting, and each of those that were collecting, I gave them each one of these little voodoo dolls. And they were tickled pink. And at Christmas time, we did hundreds of the Christmas pins. And we have an annual Santa Claus parade that comes through. And it's entirely manned by members of our first responders and our volunteer fire department here. And they volunteer to do this. So they collect for the toy drive. They collect for the our local food bank. And I thought that they all deserved it. So we stood out at the end of the drive during the parade and handed out pins to all of the first responders that had volunteered to do the parade. And they were tickled. So it was a lot of fun. Anytime you do something like that, people are so surprised by, that simple little act of kindness. And it's always so much fun to watch their response to it. So I'm pulling out a little bit of either lush green or antique green. Either one will work just fine. And I'm going to base the leaves with this yummy green. Lush green, antique green, both my favorites. I love the tone of them, sort of that foresty look. I love that earthy green. And I'm going to paint those small leaves at the top. There we are. And we've got another one here, but it's only a partial one, so there we go. Oh, the on that little voodoo doll or gingerbread fellow, whatever you want to call him, I used a UV resin. It's used for making jewelry, but it actually works really nicely for sealing those pins. And so I usually puddle a little of that on and then spread it out. And then hit it with a little UV lamp. And it produces a really nice finish. So here we go with our leaves. I like working from the back forward. I've always found that that serves me well. So, almost done with this leaf. It always amazes me how quickly these things come together once you get started. There we are. I love that green. Such a great green. And then there is another leaf behind the flower in here. I just want to keep it separate from the other one. There we go. Okay. I'm loving it. And there's a leaf down here too, which I forgot. Oops. There we are. So we have leaves. So I'm going to, oh goodness, I'm going to dry that really well. Where do I get my little gingerbreads? I have them on my website. Hundreds of them. Debbie, the green is lush green. Hi, Elaine. Good heavens. I love the little gingerbreads. And I love this little voodoo doll. I just think he's super cute. Just easy peasy. There is a video on how to do these. It's available on the YouTube channel. I think it might even be on my website as well. I'm not sure. And the pattern for it is available in the RAK section. It's also available in the free download section. So you'll be able to pull that pattern down. It's a super fun and easy way to make a pin for Halloween. You can also make them into gingerbread cookies, but I'm kind of partial to the voodoo dolls. I have a couple of them. So if you want to make something fun for Halloween, I just thought that these were super cute. Little voodoo doll. The pin that we're doing this year for the fall is this one. The little tall pumpkin with the sunflower. And we went with polka dots for that one. These little pins are just so much fun to do. And then we did the ugly sweater pin for Christmas. I love this one. The stencil that I used for this one, we have them coming. I have a huge order of these coming. We will get it up on the website if you want to place advance orders, but they are on their way. So we should have them this week. But I just think this little ugly sweater pin is just too cute. Too cute. And the pattern for that one is also on the website. So have at her. Oh, for gnats. You. So we're going to finish off these little flowers. We've got that lovely little pink in there. But we need to make them pop. So we're going to use a little bit of titanium white. I don't use titanium white very often. It's just not a color that's, high on my usage scale. So I'm at the edge of each of these petals. I'm going to put a float of titanium white. I like that it just softens everything, gives the edges of the petals a little crispness, and it brightens the flower considerably. But it also, because you're floating, it actually will overlap the pink and softens it a little bit. It's so pretty. So I'm going to come down here. Just follow the shape of the edge of the petal. Gives the edges nice crispness. But I like that it mutes that border between the two colors, that white and that little bit of tea berry. It's just softens everything very nicely. There we go. That little bit of titanium white. When will I do a zombie bunny? Deb is cutting me a zombie bunny as we speak. By the way, there's a zombie bunny in the giveaways today. One of these zombie buttons. I love this button. This apron is getting heavy. I've got so many buttons all over it right now. It's getting heavy. So we're going to reach for a little bit of orange flame. I love orange flame. It's my favorite orange. And we're going to thin that out a little bit. Oh, I got a little too much water in my brush. But we're going to float the bottom of each of these centers with a little bit of orange flame, just like so. Just the bottom, about half, go about halfway up and halfway down, just like that. Roughly half. So let's dry those flowers. And then I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum. Just a touch. There we go. And we're going to deepen that float with a float of heavily thinned asphaltum. We don't want to bury that color, but we want to deepen it. Look at that. And this does two things. It helps the center stand up a little bit. And now comes the fun part. I love doing this part. We're going to lift this flower off of that one. I'm going to do that with a little bit of asphaltum. Very little. We're going to float just like that. That little float, and it is very little, it's not very strong, but it's enough to separate those two petals. And then I'm going to grab my black gel pen, the 0.38 black gel pen. I love this bit. I like to use my gel pen with squiggly outline around the center. And then the little hash marks on the petals, like so. So it's essentially one long one and then two shorter ones on either side. I like the squiggly outline. It doesn't have to be perfect. These are rustic, rough, simple flowers. The nice part is that you can make them really elaborate if you want to, or you can make them very simple. I like them simple, so I'm going to outline my petals with that little squiggly line, like so. And that squiggly line where I go back and forth and it just softens those flowers very nicely and defines them at the same time. Super easy. Piece o' cake. So little circles around that center, squiggly lines, imperfections. Gotta love the imperfections. We worry so much about minutia, things that don't matter when it comes to art. If it conveys something for you, then there's nothing wrong with it. I like the sort of irregularities that this produces. It softens things, and it's in keeping with this sort of relaxed and country look to everything. I love that definition. So in the center of our flowers, this is where your stylus, or in my case, the end of my brush comes into play. I like to use a variety of sizes. I don't like them all to be the same size. I like little dip dots. On the shaded side, we're going to use a little bit of asphaltum. And they're going to be a variety of sizes. And a couple of them are going to come out past the edge of the center and onto the petals. The big thing here is to keep them irregular. None of them are exactly the same size. I like that. And it helps make our flowers look quite cute. And they don't have to be perfect. And there doesn't have to be a lot of them either. So having them a variety of sizes just keeps everything looking light and airy. And the airy part is important. Simple, simple. So I'm going to dry that before I end up smearing these little dots. And then we're going to repeat that with a little bit of warm white to give us the highlight. So on the highlight side of our flower centers. And again, I'm going to make sure that at least a few of the little dots extend past the edge of the center and onto the petals. It just keeps them looking light. This is such a simple little flower, and yet it is remarkably effective. It's not realistic by any stretch of the imagination, but we don't want it to be. This is meant to look simple and colorful and pretty. So just a few little dots. I love it when the dots come out past the edge. Just keeps everything looking light. Cute little simple flowers. Oh, good. Patrick's happy. So we're going to next work on the leaves. Look how cute. Look how cute. So the leaves generally tend to be very simple. So we're just going to do some very simple basics on these leaves. Shade highlight, shade highlight. I'm going to use a little bit of black green, which I really like because I like the depth of this color. So black green. And you can use sprout, you can use matcha green, you can use margarita. We just want a yellow green, something with a large quantity of yellow in it. So any one of those greens is going to work just fine for this. This is our highlight color, so it needs to be something with a little bit of opacity. So it has a little bit of white in it, so it gives us that chalky look that we're looking for, that more dry look. So I like to use, margarita is one of my favorites. I also like sprout, and I also like the matcha green. They all have sort of that chalky look to them, which works perfectly for this. So I'm using black green is my shading color. And on the small leaves, I'm going to put just a nice little float at the base of the leaf where it joins the stem. Nice little U-shaped float just to deepen it at the bottom. And again, it does not have to be this absolutely perfect float. I like these. I tend to gravitate towards either plantation pine or black green for shading, either lush green or antique green, because I like the depth of it. The black green is a little less transparent than plantation pine and a little lighter in tone, but both colors do a really nice job of shading these leaves. So again, even on these larger leaves, I want them to be sort of U-shaped so that they tuck in underneath the petals very nicely. Look at that. I missed one. So I always put that first float in. I like to walk it out a little bit too, because I don't want it to just, I don't want that sawtooth look. I want to bring that float out a bit. So deepest under those petals, yes. But I want to walk that color out a little. So that I get this. There is that shadow that comes out a ways from the edge of the flower. And then in behind that one, we have another leaf. But that one's just going to get almost all black green because this is a shadow leaf. It's hiding in behind all of the rest. So we'll dry that, and then we're going to come in and put the center veins in some of these leaves. Not all of them are going to have center veins, but some of them will. So make sure that that first shading is dry. I'm going to switch to a larger brush, I think. This one is not holding enough water for me today. It's either too much or not enough. There we go. So center vein is a float down to the point. Now on this big one, if I put it right here, it's going to make the leaf look flat. But if I bring that shadow up here and then down to the point, gives the leaf a little more dimension. A lot of the time we think of doing leaves that center vein has to be dead smack in the center, and it really doesn't. So if I start at the stem and I pull that float up in a curve following the shape of the leaf, I get that really nice turnover, that dimension that I was looking for. And this one, there we go. And I think these ones are just going to be as they are. They don't need a center vein. They're a little too small. So I'm going to deepen that and pull it out to the point. There we go. So let's dry it, and then we can highlight. Basic leaves. You gotta love basic leaves. Sometimes the simplest method is the best. This is a fun little project. It's not too stressful and quite pretty. As I said, I didn't have the proper size to do mine, so I'm just making her work. So a little bit of margarita or sprout or matcha green to float with. And I'm going to do this big one first because, yeah, I figured as much. So there is my highlight color down the center vein. Don't forget to go down the center vein with the same color. And then I'm going to come up the outer edge of the leaf like so. Gives our leaf a nice bit of texture. Little bit out to the point, down the center vein. Down the center vein. I love this color. Margarita is just a great green for highlighting. I like high acid greens, the ones with that high yellow content. Just love it. There we are. This one gets the U-shaped float, but out at the point. Little bit of green. Look at that. Don't forget this little guy here. Now, if you wanted to add a little texture to the edges of the leaves, you could do this. Just a little tap and blend to add a little texture at the edge of the leaf. Just sort of implies that there's some serrated edge there, and it's just a little tap and pull. Et voila. I love this look. So easy. So lots of light, lots of textures. So we're going to switch to a liner brush. I'm going to use my 10-aught extra long detail liner. And I'm going to pick up a little of that titanium white or warm white, and I'm going to add a little of the margarita or sprout or matcha to that. Needs a bit more water. There we go. And we're going to add, remember we did the squiggly lines around the flowers? We're going to do the same thing to the leaves. So I love to have this line either on the edge of the leaf or off it. It doesn't matter. But I love this look. It just gives the leaf a little more dimension. Squiggly lines. I love my squiggly lines. If it's on or off, it doesn't really matter. Don't forget to put a little stroke down the center vein just to amplify that highlight. Et voila. I like squiggly lines. And I do this frequently on a large number of things. I like the softness of it. It does something for it. So once you've done that outline, you're going to take that black green on that same liner, thin it out. And this is where you get to put in those stems on those little leaves here. These pretty, pretty little leaves. So that they're connected, they're grounded, and they're bonded to that. And then, of course, you need to have, you know, what's a floral without a tendril? I like the curlicues. I'm a fan of curlicues. Here we go. A little bit of black green goes a long way. Hi, Shannon. Okay. See how fast that went? Leaves are easy. So we've got our cute little flowers. We've got our leaves done. So we're going to work on our sunflower next. And this one is so super simple. I'm going to use a little bit of Sunny Day, if I can find it. Sunny Day is a great yellow. And I seem to have misplaced it. Okay. Sunny Day. I had to go get one out of my cabinet. So a little bit of Sunny Day. I like the Sunny Day. It is a vibrant yellow. It's a little more lemony than Baby Duck. I love Baby Duck though, but this one's a little more lemony. It has that great lemon tone to it. Look at that. It has sunshine in it. And again, we're going to paint these petals. I'm doing all of the forward-facing petals first. All of the ones that are closest to the viewer are the ones we're going to do first. And again, just like we did the 5 pointed flowers, the 5 petal flowers, we're pulling those petals in a series of strokes. And I prefer the 3 method. You see how it leaves texture behind? That's what we want. We want to keep those. For years, everybody says, oh, no, 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 you've got to brush everything nice and smooth. Yes and no. There's a difference between painting sloppy and painting well. And if your brush is properly loaded and you pull your strokes nice and neat, you can still get the texture and still get that neat look. And I like pulling the strokes because I love that texture. You see that texture in the petals, in the real thing. So put it in. Now this one overlaps this flower. So, et voila. Bob's your uncle, Sally's your aunt. Love it. Just love it. And here comes that fun little sunflower. There we go. Look at that. So there we go. I'm going to dry this really well, and then we're going to tackle the petals that are in the back. We're going to do it the same way. We're just going to take a little care because we need to separate these petals. So fun and so easy. There we go. So we have all of these petals in the background. And I like to paint them in, but I like to leave a little bit of a space so that you can distinguish them from the petals in the front. Bring it all the way back. There we go. Sunflowers, I think, are my favorite flower. I just love that they're happy. I love the yellow. I don't wear yellow, but I love yellow. It's a great color. It's a happy color. Here we go. How fun is this? Easy peasy, right? There we go. You notice I'm bringing a little of that background color down into the front. I pull it right to the center, so it's not perfect. Doesn't have to be, quite honestly. But we need that color down in the center. So, I'm going to dry this. Bats and spiders in it for Halloween. I have a couple of designs I have sitting here that involve bats. I love bats. I'm not so sure about spider thing. Spider webs, yes, but not so much about spiders, but we'll see. But yeah, I do have a Halloween piece in the lineup. Not to worry. So we have a center. I'm going to use, where's my filbert? Oh no, I've got another round here that will do. Lucy. So a little bit of asphaltum. We're going to use asphaltum for the center of our flower. And this is how I'm using it. I am doing much like we did for the lid. Just pity-pat it in place. Doesn't have to be perfect. But you want to take it out far enough so that it just overlaps the bottom of those petals. Here we go. Love it. So I'm going to dry that, and then I'm going to give it one more coat. For the same reason. I know, right? Sunshine in a mason jar. Totally agree. Happy thoughts, happy things. Be kind. Be happy, be humble. The reason I called this pattern Be Kind, etc., was because I put some other lettering choices in there. And you are welcome to paint this and use whatever you like. Or if you have something of your own you want to put in there, feel free. I'm not going to be offended. However you decide to personalize this is entirely up to you. Oh, Holly Hanley's stuff is so stinking cute. That little popcorn box is to die for. That girl is so clever. Okay. Look at us. So the center of this flower, I just think this is fun. This one is super easy. I'm using a little bit of lamp black. Little bit. And we're going to float the bottom of the center right along the outside edge. Just the bottom half. Remember how we did the center of the little flower with the float of color at the bottom? It just helps elevate the center. Oh, I agree. Holly is amazing. And then in the center of the flower, you're going to paint a half circle. Just like that. Neatness doesn't count. Just like that. So that's going to be the divot in the center of our flower. And this is the shadow here. So I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to use that margarita again. And I'm going to find my deer foot. I've got a little deer foot. Now the deer foot we're going to load with asphaltum first. So a little bit of asphaltum, just stipple into it so that you have some asphaltum. And then you're going to pick up a little bit of margarita just on the toe of this brush. So just like that. And then you're going to tap that on the surface to blend the two colors. And this is how we're going to highlight the center of our flower. You see the texture it creates? That's what we want. We want that little texture. And it's sort of like a double load, because it's going to soften it a little. And then the top of that center gets the same treatment. And then lightly come down and follow the bottom edge like so. And you can see it just creates a nice soft highlight on our sunflower. So look at that. Gives us that nice soft center. So I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to start working on the back petals, which is these ones back here. We're going to start by shading those. And we're going to start with a little bit of tea berry. I know, it always reminds me of a donut too. So, I need my small angled shader. I have a brand new one. Time to break one in. So I'm going to use a little bit of tea berry first. And I'm going to blend that out really well. I don't want this color full strength, but I like the intensity of it. So we're going to start by shading those back petals first. Just like that. It always amazes me what a difference it makes when you put that shadow in. It doesn't have to be super dark, but we need that color. And I just love how it looks. Got a little heavy-handed there, but that's okay. Now, somebody asked me the other day why I don't base coat for opacity. And my reasoning is this. Most of the things that I paint have multiple layers of color. It's very rare that I just do one color, the float, shade, highlight. There's usually multiple layers of color. And so for me, putting on 4 coats of one color to get it fully opaque just to put, X number of colors over top of it, it'll end up being opaque anyway. So it doesn't matter if I base coat it fully opaque or not. It's just more work. And so I have a tendency to go with one, sometimes two coats, but very rarely. I just usually have so many other colors going over top of it that it just seems like wasted effort. I tend to be very heavy-handed with color anyway, so base coating fully opaque is pretty much redundant. So I'm going to dry that now that we've separated all of these petals. And then we're going to shade the ones that are in the front. We're going to shade those just like we did the leaves, with this sort of a U-shaped float down at the base of the leaf. But I leave a little space. I don't come right to the edge. I leave a little space. And this helps imply that the leaf, that petal, has a little curve to it, like it's producing a little bowl, like the petal is cup-shaped, like that. So this is coat number 2. So right now I have 2 colors on top of my flower. Oh, there we go. There's 2 colors. I like this tea berry for yellow flowers. You'll see why in a second. Because it's going to work very nicely with the next color we put on here. Look at that. So there's our tea berry. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of orange flame. Love this. And I'm going to go right over top of the tea berry with it. It becomes almost neon, almost. But it deepens that. I keep it towards the very bottom. So it deepens that tea berry. Don't forget to go in between. This is color number 3. And we still have 2 more colors to go over top of all of this. You might be shocked to discover. So there is that little bit of orange flame over top of that tea berry. Tea berry becomes very vibrant with this little bit of orange. The tea berry is more opaque. The orange flame is very transparent. I'm not using either color full strength. So I blend it out a little bit. But when you see what happens to this sunflower, here we go. Look at how that sunflower is just popping it. That little bit of orange over top of that tea berry just gives that tea berry some real vibrancy. I mean, it pops already, but that little bit of orange just does some wonderful things for it. Look at that. What's a good substitute for tea berry? Bright salmon will work fine. Oh, it would look great with fall leaves, wouldn't it? So I'm going to dry that. I love this. And we're going to make this look like fire in a second. And we're going to do that with another yellow. Sue, if you think this pops, you wait. So I have a nice big round brush and I have saffron. Saffron yellow is just one of those, I don't know, something about this color. So saffron yellow, and I'm going to overstroke my petals, and I'm going to bring it right over top of the orange and the tea berry. And it just becomes flame-like. I love this color. Just brush it right over top of everything. Right over top of all of those yellows, that tea berry, and the sunflower takes on a whole new look. I love saffron yellow for this. You can thin it out, lots of water or glaze, and put it over top of that sunny day and over top of that tea berry and that orange flame. And look what happens to our sunflower. Just that vivid, vibrant orange, that vivid, vibrant yellow. Look at that. I love this color. Using those transparent layers, we do not need to put 4 coats of sunny day on a sunflower to make it look opaque. Look at that. I love saffron yellow. So look at that. That saffron just turns that, look what it does to those 2 colors. It just makes these sunflowers glow. So I'm going to dry that. And then we're going to deepen some of those petals in the back, really separate them. So we're going to use a little bit of thinned asphaltum. We do not want this color full strength, but watch what happens when we deepen these colors. I love this color for this. So I'm going to pop in there. Look what all of a sudden these flowers are separated. The petals are sharp and defined. Gorgeous tone. There we go. Anytime that you feel that something is not sharp and precise, now we're going to grab our liner again, only this time we're going to use a little bit of thinned warm white. And this is where we're going to enhance that cup, that look that these petals have a little bit of a bowl. We're going to enhance that. So you take your liner and starting right here on that gap that we left, you're going to put a little bit of a comma stroke. Just a little pressure so that it opens up wide. And then you're going to squiggly outline these petals. I am not looking for a perfect elegant stroke, but just the definition of that little fold at the base of the petal. Just like that. And again, I like the irregularities. I like that little bit of white that doesn't quite go on the edge or not quite off the edge. It's just sort of floats above the rest of the flower. I love that look. And it creates such a delicate look. I like the irregularities in things. I like that it's flawed somewhat. I'm going to switch to my other liner. This one is got a split in it. There we go. There's that little comma stroke right there. Don't be afraid to put a little curly Q at the end of your petals. Et voila. And then you can do the same thing to the ones in the back, but it's going to be narrower. So just a little flick at the end. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just always think we worry too much about things being utterly perfect. There's nothing wrong with wanting to achieve perfection. But if it stops you from doing anything, or that need to do it perfectly stops you from doing something that you love doing, then don't do it. Don't try to get it perfect. Look at that.
Did I miss the what's for dinner conversation?
You did. We're having tzatziki, chicken souvlaki, sorry, and tzatziki
Okay.
and lemon orzo. So, going to dry this. And remember what we did with the centers of these flowers, using that simple dip dot thing? We're going to use that too. But in just a second, I'm going to make sure all this paint is dry. We're going to use that same technique with the gel pen on the sunflower that we used on this. And I love this part. You'd like to turn the kitchen into an art supply room? That's a good idea. Except where would I cook? So those little details on the petals, just like we did on the little 5-petal flowers, we're going to do the same thing here on our sunflower. There's so many different ways to paint a sunflower, but I like this keep it simple method. And I like the simplicity of this. Simple's good. And then, again, we're going to do like the simple little outline. Keep it scribbly, keep it loose. Neatness doesn't count. Oh, hello would be pretty. Absolutely. I've used hello on a couple of pieces. I have a couple that I taught for Zoom classes that I think I'm going to do on here now that they... I love simple lettering. I love simple flowers. I like the little details. I like the textures. I like the fun stuff in this industry. So there's our sunflower. Now we're going to add some dip dots to the center. So I need my rigger. Where's my rigger? There it is. So we're going to use, in this case, we're going to use a little bit of lamp black to add dip dots along, and again in various sizes, small to large. Make sure that some of them come out over the petals. I think it just keeps everything looking a little interesting. Softer. And I love the fact that none of them are the same size. That just keeps everything looking fun. So there's some black ones. Don't forget to throw in some asphaltum ones too. We don't want this to get too dark. So a few little asphaltum ones, like so. And then we're going to put some white ones in too. So a little bit of warm white. Again, I like to keep the dots a variety of sizes, so little tiny ones. They don't all get they don't all get just stuck wherever. I like the variety of sizes and shapes. And they're super easy to do. Everybody owns a paintbrush with a small handle, so I've never been a huge fan of a stylus. I don't use one when I trace and transfer. I just don't like how it comes out. So there we go. We've got dip dots. Look how fun that is. So I'm going to dry this because if I don't, I'm going to smear it because I'm gifted that way. It is happiness. Donna, you need one of the buttons. We'll have to see. Neatness doesn't count. Perfection is to be avoided at all costs. This goes on my skull apron. Along with my eye arted buttons. So I've got a B here, but I'm going to erase this one because I'm not super keen on it. I'm going to take that one off. It's the nice thing about this Factus Black. I can erase things. There we go. Look how pretty. Isn't that fun? Easy peasy. So we're going to use, I'm using a zero rigger and some lamp black to paint in our letters. The crowns and the numbers are just people that are involving in conversation frequently. It's the top 3, I think, or in order of who is chatting the most. Again, this is a pretty straightforward font. It's a very simple one. Even when you type it out on your computer, it does not look perfect. It has these little wobbles and bobbles and flaws in it that just appeal to me. I think that's one of the reasons that I gravitate towards this particular font, especially for country-themed pieces and whatnot. It's just a really nice font for this. It's called Lemonade, if you're looking for the font. And you can get it at designbundles.com or fontbundles.com. I think this is just a cute little font. It's rustic looking, it's simplistic looking, and it suits this right down to the ground. Not to mention the fact that it's actually a very easy font to paint, because it's nearly the width of this brush. So it's an easy one to work. Look at that. Easy peasy. The honeycomb that is not a honeycomb stencil, it's a bubble wrap stencil. I got a bubble wrap stencil and then immediately thought, gee, that looks like honeycomb. But such a fun project. Here we go. So cute. Now, when painting lettering, what is this? Yeah, it's a bubble wrap stencil. There we go. It was just designed. Yeah, I do have all of the M square stencils are on sale. This one is just designed to mimic the look of bubble wrap, but I thought it really did a great job of looking like honeycomb too, so it worked. Now, when painting lettering like this, make sure your paint is inky, not super thick. The nice thing about a rigger is that it works almost like a nib. It's a flat brush that looks like a liner. I know that might be an odd thing to say, but it looks like a liner brush in the way that it's built, but it actually behaves like a flat. So when you press down on it, it creates a chisel edge like a flat brush. It's straight across. It doesn't come to a point. So it makes it ideal for painting lettering. It's my favorite brush. Well, I don't know. I think maybe my fugly brush is my favorite. I use that one more than any other brush, I think. My fugly brush gets a lot of use. So there we go. This is a forgiving font style. So if you make a little mistake and you wobble a little bit, or nothing is, the lettering's not perfectly crisp, it's okay. It works well for this type of artwork. It's an excellent font for this. So have some fun with it. Change the color up a little too if you want to. If you want to, maybe you're not a fan of all these yellows, you want to go with more reds in the sunflower, by all means, go right ahead. Use a little of your own ingenuity and create something a little more original. Just by changing up colors. Changing colors in something makes a huge difference. Oh, I love this letter. So I'm going to dry that really well, and then we're going to put a highlight on our lettering, and we're going to do a few little finishing things. So grab my liner brush, and I'm going to grab a little warm white or titanium white, just as long as it's white. And we're going to put a highlight stroke on the left side of each letter, little thicker at the top, let it run out. I like having that sort of teardrop look where it's bigger at the top and then it just gradually gets smaller as it goes down the letter. And all that is just releasing some of the pressure on the brush. Here we go. That one's not, there we are. So nice little highlight. Look how fun that is. It's a very forgiving font to paint. Oh, you're on your third Nutcracker set? Well, Sherry, I hate to disappoint you, but I've got 3 more. I had entirely too much fun with the whole Nutcracker thing. It's not something that you see much of. So to finish this, we're going to take that titanium white. I want to brighten a couple of places right here. That center highlight, I want them a little bit brighter. Love that. And I think it needs a little spatter now. So I need my fugly brush. Look at this. Got a fugly brush. I like my fugly brushes. So we're going to spatter this first with a little bit of thinned asphaltum. It is going to be heavily thinned. If you prefer a darker spatter, then by all means go ahead, make it as dark as you like. But I prefer a lighter, just with a little bit of asphaltum. Like, how cool is this? Just a little asphaltum, just to keep that country look. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, but with a little bit of warm white. So I'm going to take a little bit of warm white on my other fugly brush, my little one, and I'm going to add a little bit of white to this. I find adding a little white just softens things nicely, but it keeps things from getting too dark and grungy looking. So there we go. Now, I like finishing my edges. Right, so I like things to have a finished look. Now, personally, I will probably paint the back of this one with asphaltum or black, but I think the asphaltum would work. The pattern, it will be available as a kit. But the pattern is available, as is the surface. Now we need a bumblebee. We need a bumblebee. And I want to show you my bumblebee. So I'm going to set this aside and let it finish drying. Now you could paint as many bees on this as you want. I've got these little laser cut bees. I just love these. So I think I'll do 2 of them. Now the instructions to paint the bee are the same whether you paint the laser cut one or if you paint the bees that are in the line drawing. I intentionally put them in the line drawing, but I wanted to show you. These are much bigger, so it's easier to show you how to do this. So I'm going to use my round brush, small round, and I'm going to paint the upper body. Oh, good grief, not nearly enough water. The upper body, the head, the legs are all going to be painted lamp black. But I'm going to give myself a little leeway. I find it easier to just paint this whole portion black because you're going to have to paint it anyway. So there we go. So we'll paint ears. I guess bees have ears. Antenna. Bunny leaves. So I've been dealing with allergy-related asthma the last little while, and it's been giving me some grief, mainly at night. So I'm not sleeping the greatest, but on the downside of that is I've been extremely creative. So my sketch pad, my doodle book are just like chock full of things because, you know, never have enough to paint. How about doing another set of 12? Each nutcracker with one symbol. Oh my good Lord. For 12 days of Christmas. Ooh, that would be pretty. That's a good idea, Janet. So the wings of our butterfly, our bumblebee, or honeybee in this case, are going to be warm white. These guys actually work up really quickly. There we are. There we go. Oh, those little boxes of laser cut items are dangerous. I have so many of those. And they make the cutest little pins. I had way too much fun with a couple of boxes of those a couple of years ago. Awesome sauce. Now, the bottom of our bee down here, I'm going to base him white. Just one coat of white. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just, you know, that's his fuzzy butt, or it will be when we're finished. I'm just going to put a single coat of warm white on it. Like so. and dry it. Am I working on the 12 days of Christmas yet? Yes, I am. Just no glitter for Renee this year. Yeah, he's been quite adamant about that. Ooh, a little holographic color in the wings. Yes, very nice. Hi, Tina. So I'm going to use a little bit of Sunny Day. No, I'm going to use Baby Duck. A little bit of Baby Duck on the butt of our bumblebee. Comme ça. That little bit of white I put on is just so that this yellow covers a little better. That black would be just easier to paint the whole thing black and then put a little coat of white on. So otherwise, you're going to be there for a month of Sundays trying to paint around everything. So there we go. A little bit of yellow. These guys are super easy to do. Okay. Now the fun can begin. We're going to paint bumblebees. I love bumblebees. Super easy. So I've got my little angled shader. And we're going to start with the highlight on the body of the bee. So on the black sections of the bee, we have to decide which side is the shaded side. For me, it's usually the left. So we're going to put a highlight on the right side of the body, little float of warm white, and one on the head. Choop. Just like that. So it's a simple little highlight. We're going to do it on both sides, actually, so that we create the shape of the bee. So when I hold that up, this is what it's going to look like. So highlight all the way across, all the way across. So we have a little shape like that. Save the bees. Yes, save the bees. On the thorax, on that little fuzzy butt, we're going to use a little bit of that orange flame, and we're going to float down the left side. This is the shaded side of our bee. Left side, like so. And then I'm going to use a little bit of warm white. I'm going to put just a small highlight on the right side. Just a little one. Little float, warm white, don't worry. It's just enough to lighten that yellow. Some fun. So we'll dry those. The bees are 1.5 inches. 2 inches. I know, they're so easy. So I need my liner brush.
Doing a fuzzy butt.
We're going to do our fuzzy butt bumblebee. So I picked up a little bit of lamp black, and I'm going to put a series of strokes across, leaving a space like so. Just little vertical lines. Some, they don't all have to be the same size or the same length, but they need to create a little bit of texture.
Ours look like watercolors.
And then I'm going to give them a fuzzy butt down here too. So on the business end of this bee, there we go. Just like so. And I'm going to do that to both of them.
Really, Mace?
She threw her ball down here. She's just giving you an excuse to come down, you know that. If she can behave herself. So, fuzzy butt. See, fuzzy butt. Hi, baby. You brought your ball. Ball is life. Linda Morgan says, hi, Renee.
Hello.
So we need a little bit of Bahama blue.
With the wings.
I love Bahama blue.
Or key foam.
Or sea foam. So a little bit of Bahama blue. We're going to put a little float close to the body on the wing with a little Bahama blue. Sounds like a little freight train.
Yeah,
A little steam engine.
we went out and played a little bit.
Ah,
Just a little bit.
here we go. So little float close to the body. And then I also like to put a little bit out at the very tip of the wing. Just little floats. I just like how it looks. Little float out there. Need a little more color. There we go. And a little float, little float. Look how fun. Now, I'm going to take my liner brush and a tiny amount of either titanium white or warm white. Either one will work. And we're going to put a few little strokes on the highlight side, on the fuzzy butt. Just a few little fine strokes. And then on the highlight side of the head, we're going to put a little stroke of white, like so, on the thorax as well. It's got to be on the right side. There we go. And this is where it gets fun. We're going to take our gel pen and we're going to add a few little fun details to the wings and to the fuzzy butt. Now, again, with the scribbly line, I like to go back over itself so it doesn't form a solid line. And it's not a perfect line. You're going to do the same thing to the fuzzy butt. I like the fuzzy butt. Go ahead and add a few little dots if you want to. Just an easy, easy way to paint bumblebees. Fuzzy butt bumblebees. And we are ready to melt these onto our piece. Now, ironically, I have a batch of these little honeycomb looking things. They're just spacers, stuff that would have been thrown out. And we need some glue. And we're going to, I like to glue this to the back of the bee first. So just glue that little spacer to the back of the bee. Like so. I'm going to give that a second to set. And then we're going to mount them to... There's my buddy Deb. And Peggy Placer. Hello, Peggy. Beautiful. So I'm going to give that a second to set, and then I'm going to decide where I'm going to put these bees. So the nice part is that they can go wherever you want. So if you want one in the flower, by all means put one in the flower if you want it higher up, in this case, because I've got such a big surface. So I'm going to put one bee inside my flower. And I think my other bee is going to go up here. What do you think? Yes. Right there. Now I'm going to let these set for a second. And I'm going to grab my gold paint pen. Can you reach in? The one right on the right corner. Next one. Right there. Thank you much. I like to finish my edges on these things. Well, almost anything. Just like the way it looks. So I'm going to take my gold paint pen. And I'm just going to put a thin little gold border all the way around the outside edge. It finishes the edge, so if you're doing things like this for craft markets and whatnot, these gold paint pens finish edges really nicely, so you can cover up the whole outside edge. And it's so much simpler than trying to paint it. And it gives everything a really nice finished look. So there we go. Holy smokes, that wheel is packed today.
Yeah, a lot of new names on there.
I see that. That's great. So there we go. Now to finish this, all I would do, I will let this dry overnight, make sure everything is nice and dry, and then take it out to the garage or out to the backyard, and I'll seal it with 2 or 3 light coats of DecoArt matte spray. And it is ready to hang up. I like to finish the back too, so a coat of asphaltum or even just repeat the same colors on the other side would look great. So if you're looking to add a fun detail to this, after you've sealed everything with a little matte spray, you can brush a little bit of galaxy varnish onto the wings of the butterfly if you want to add a little glitz, or you can use some interference colors. They all look fantastic. So there you go. That is our Be Kind, etc. project for today. I'm so glad you guys came to paint with me today. Renee has got the wheel loaded. Oh, the hair. The hair. I hate the hair. Yes, it has a mind of its own. Debbie, thank you for joining me. I love my Saturdays with you guys. So the wheel is absolutely packed. That's insane. So we have 3 giveaways today. So just to reiterate, we've got cute little Be Happy art pouches for you to store some of your art supplies in, your favorite pencils, your watercolors, etc. It's filled with a bunch of little goodies from both Renee and myself. Plus there are some fun little surfaces, a pin kit. There's all kinds of goodies in there. As well as a beautiful set of Dynasty Black Gold brushes that you're going to love. There's a nice varnishing brush in there. And we have a phone stand kit for you that includes the stencil and the surface, plus the pattern. And of course it has a bee theme. So be kind. And Renee is going to spin the wheel.
I am.
You are. Melinda Barnes. Awesome. So if your name comes up on the wheel, make sure that you hop over to the website at tracymoreau.net. Click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send us your shipping information so we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible. Yes, Deanna, we're doing another Nutcracker next Saturday.
Number 2.
Zenaida Major. There's a name I haven't seen before. And awesome. And we have one more to go. Don't forget, if your name pops up on the wheel, head over to the website, click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and send us your shipping information. And Diane Langevin-Blay from Ontario. Awesome, Diane. So, any prizes that are not claimed within 2 weeks go back in the bin, so make sure you send me your shipping information. Awesome. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me again this week. I love spending my Saturday with you guys. We always have such a good time. Next Saturday, we are painting our 5th in the series of gingerbread, or not gingerbread, nutcrackers. English is the second language today. And this one is peppermints and nutcrackers.
I like the guy in the middle.
The guy-
Part of the Bob Army.
Oh, yes, the gingerbread guy. So this is the one that we're painting next Saturday. This little guy with all of the peppermint candies on it. The surface and all of the accoutrements, including the pattern, are available on the website. So come and join me next Saturday painting another nutcracker. Then we have one more left in that series, and then we're going to move on to some fun stuff for Halloween. So everybody have a great weekend. Mwah. We love you. Stay safe.
Hey. Oh yeah, pet your dog.
I was going to say, what, you forgot?
No, I didn't forget. Just have a dog burning a hole at me right now.
Uh-huh.